show where I find topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about.
Nothing but rants.
Hot takes.
3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. You know Brooks finna cook, let him rain. Try to do it like us, but you can't. Stay the young, going dumb with the chance. Big plays lead to even bigger bands. What's up? What's the word? What's the play? What we talking about? On the scene with the team, yeah, we popping out. NBA happening. We gon' hit you with the stats and the facts, man. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Hey, shout it end zone dancing. We about to start it up, it's the anthem. That right, big rings got me handsome. Hold them up like we came for the ransom. I'm in the field, 2-minute drill. Highlight reel, let's review, what's the deal, okay? Watching footage going out of control. Buckle up, we got an hour to go, so let's go, that's straight heat. Ain't no chillin' around here. Back that back, Nat Chance, how we feelin' around here? Got my whole squad in the building around here. If my name ain't on it, then I really don't care. Come on. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. The beat on the beat, hey. Yeah.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Thursday afternoon. We got a saying around here, last show, best show. Now, Jonathan, if you were to go onto our YouTube channel and you were to click one of them little oldest tabs, you're going to find a goofy, fat-faced young man in a suit, a really cheap one, a really cheap suit in front of a really cheap green screen, okay, out here attempting to grind some tape. Apparently, we got choppy audio already. Anyways, you'll see a younger version of me and, a nice, cheaper suit attempting to give dynamite analysis in a very, very cheap and startup broadcast. And my thought process at that point was, I think I want to dress for the job that I want. Now, still got the same job and stopped wearing suits, but nowadays we put suits on because we got big shows to go on. Like this afternoon, we got to go on Feinbaum. And I thought, I'm going to put a suit on for Feinbaum, but it's only going to be like a 10, 12-minute interview. And I think it's goofy to dust off a suit and to go have to press a suit for a 12-minute interview. So I figured, hell, we're going to wear the suit all day. That's what we're going to do.
I mean, you're going to have them, you might as well rock them. When it's time to get the suits out, you might as well fully represent, especially when you got a nice one like the one you have on right now. You got to let the people know what you got on.
Boy, you got to have some type of confidence to rock a green suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not in my color palette, I don't think.
You don't think you rock green?
I don't know. Maybe.
You look like, Gumby off of Saturday Night Live. You know who Gumby is? I don't look like Gumby because I'm not so tall and so slender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're tall and slender, more of the Gumby mold and player comp. Me, not so much. I look more like a green Barney.
Green Barney.
Yeah. Barney's purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. But round, obtuse. Very similar, like myself. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. It is our last show before the first round of the college football playoff. Super excited for this weekend's games, man. A little popping of the cherry of the 12-team playoff for all of us. So hopefully we get some really, really dynamite football games. And I do like some of the matchups as we've talked about all week leading up to this football game. Super excited to get into it. A ton of news to get into today, like Diego Pavia getting 1 additional year, 2 additional years?
I guess one.
So basically, here's what has happened, and here's what has set precedence with Diego Pavia winning his court case against the NCAA. Basically, your JUCO years don't count anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't see why we need to do this. I like
because play ball as long as you can, Jonathan. That's why.
And you know what?
Because everybody deserves to play college football for the rest of their life. Because college football is awesome, and once you get an opportunity, you should never let it go. That's why. Save the whales.
My question is, so Diego Pavia is in, I don't know, year 5, I guess, of college football now, which means like NIL really wasn't even that big of it, like wasn't even a thing almost just yet, like officially by that timeline, I would say. So, and that was the whole principle behind this of I was in JUCO. I didn't have the opportunity to capitalize off of my NIL or any of these things because I was in a JUCO year. So I need an extra year to get that year back. Well, based on your timeline, you weren't missing out on anything because nobody was really capitalizing, at least not to this standard of how things are now in today's world of college football. So you know what? I guess good on you, good on Vanderbilt that you get your quarterback back for another year. Hugh Freeze is throwing up in a bucket right now because he has to play Diego Pavia again next year. But
Caleb DeBoer's got night sweats.
I'm just not a huge fan of this. I just think that we're doing too much. We're catering to too many different things, and we're changing things that I don't think need to be changed.
Let me set the scene for you, Jonathan. Lawyer with a nice suit like myself walks in, and he goes, "Judge, they slept on my client. They slept on my client. They did not allow my client to be the absolute dog that he is right now. They slept on my client because he's 5'8", and there is no reason that my client shouldn't be able to be out here making that Nashville NIL money for another year just because the entire industry slept on my client. So here's the deal, Judge. I want an extra year. I want an extra year for my boy Diego because he was 5'8" and the world slept on him." And the judge looked at that lawyer right in the face and said, "Based. Another year right now for Diego Pavia. Go make that $250,000 that they're giving you at Vandy."
I would assume the mob had something to do with this. I would assume the mob had got into the judge's ear, like, "Hey, let me just give you the lowdown right now of if you don't go in favor of Pavia, our client right here, and give him this extra year, there's some nasty business coming your way. We're going to have to take care of our own business and make sure this happens. So go ahead, get the PR for yourself, go rule in favor of our client right now, and just take care of business for us before we have to do it ourselves."
If you're having audio issues, refresh the stream, come back to us. That's the only tip I got for you. It's not on our end. It seems like a YouTube thing between OBS and what YouTube's got going on. What was I going to get at right here? This is a bad precedent. And Jonathan, you know I'm a big proponent of high school football. I'm a big proponent of high school football players getting opportunities to go elsewhere. And I've made a big fuss out of a kid like, and there's thousands of kids like this, but it's just the most prominent name right now. A kid like Tristan Payne, the wide receiver out of Milton, who, by the way, my head coach out there at Southern Illinois, my man out here tossing out O's. I have 2 direct messages between the head coach at Southern Illinois and myself, both of which are in all caps, me saying thank you. Do you know why? Because he finally offered a kid I've been standing on the table for. So shout out to Southern Illinois. I am a fan. But they finally also offered Tristan Payne. Why does a player like Tristan Payne have to have people like me and his head coach pitch a fit on social media to finally get an offer? Well, we got 6,100 damn players in the transfer portal right now. We have a weird time in college football that whoever the decision makers are, and Jonathan, I sat on the sidelines yesterday, the last 3 days at these state championship games talking to all these college football coaches, and these poor guys are more clueless about where the direction of the sport's going than I am or anybody is. And the reason being, they don't know who these decision makers are. They have no idea. One coach turned around and said, "Brooks, we've had 36 rule changes in the sport in the last 5 years. Who's making these decisions?" I said, "Coach, I thought you guys voted on them." And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? I said, Coach, they tell us that you guys vote on these at these coaching clinics. And he goes, I ain't never voted on nothing. I'm like, what the hell are we got going on? And all it is these decision makers. Who are the decision makers? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I don't either. You know who I think they are? The president and AD at Georgia, the president and AD at Ohio State, the president and AD at Alabama, the president and AD at the top 30 schools in the sports that matter. That's who I think they are, because those are the people who are impacted most by these decisions, right? Their bottom dollars are the ones that are being protected by all of these decisions that are being made. But it's just weird, man. All these decisions got made at the same exact time. It was like, hey, I want to pay the players. All right, I'm with you. I want to pay the players too. I want the players to have the same mobility and freedom that the coaches have. In a vacuum, great idea. I'm all for fairness. Oh, by the way, eligibility, you can play as long as you want. Okay, but we didn't spread those decisions out, Jonathan, over 10 years, over a decade, for all of these things to get settled, and then we'll add the new one. All right, pay players. All right, let's let 4 or 5 years, let that settle, add a new one. No. We're like, hey, within 6 months, all of it. We're going to let them get paid. We're going to let them go wherever the hell they want, and all of this, all at once. Boom. Oh, and by the way, you can play as long as you want to. What?
Yeah, and this came up, I believe, like a month ago. I believe it was announced that Pavia was going to be trying to get another year on the basis of he had basically had to waste a year at JUCO, is what basically the principle of it. And it's not a big deal to people because it's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt doesn't have a 5-star quarterback sitting on the bench waiting his turn. They don't even have probably like a 4-star quarterback right now that they recruited out of high school that's sitting and waiting his turn to play and start at Vanderbilt. And it's a cool story because it's Pavia who beat Alabama, had a great year at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had a great season. People want to see more of that. So people are excited and they see it that way of what Pavia and Vanderbilt could do next year. But if this was a big prominent program like a Georgia or an Alabama, I don't know if people are favoring this type of ruling, especially for this position, like the quarterback position, where it is so limited of who gets to start, the playing time. It's not like defensive line where you can rotate multiple guys in throughout a game. I mean, this is a very exclusive position that you're talking about.
Yeah, the starter plays. Now, we're not out here shutting up and grinding the tape on JUCO football.
No.
But this will enhance the product on JUCO football, a product that has deteriorated drastically since the start of the portal. I was talking to a junior college football coach yesterday, Jonathan, who was on a staff at Georgia Military College like 5 or 10 years ago. And he told me 5 or 6 years ago, I had I had a roster that now has 10 active NFL football players on it, on a JUCO roster.
Jeez.
And then he said, Coach, we went 10-2.
They lost 2 games?
They lost 2 games. They lost 2 games with 10 future NFL football players, okay? So that's how high quality the JUCO market was back in the day. Now, they have some teams in their conference that have a tough time even getting enough bodies on the roster. And the reason being, back in the day, if you flamed out at a Power 5 football school, if you got in trouble, or if you got a DUI charge, or if you got kicked off the team, whatever, back in the day, you had 2 options, all right? I'm going Division II, and I'm going to play now, or I'm going JUCO, and I'm going to play now, or I'm going to transfer, 3 options, or I'm going to transfer somewhere and sit. But really, you had 2 options. I'm going to go D2 or I'm going to go JUCO. D2 and JUCO football have fallen down dramatically over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, definitely don't hear as many stories as you feel like you used to of this kid who went the JUCO route, now is at a Power 4 program, or really just any of these types. So that's sad to hear that JUCO football has kind of deteriorated like that, because I think it has been not a heartbeat or anything like that of college football, but it has been an extra step in another avenue for players to take. So
it's been a safety net, John.
A safety net. That's a great word for it.
Yeah. A professional speaker, professional user of words. This guy.
You put the suit on, and all of a sudden, the words just flow naturally and everything.
Put the suit on and lose the football brain. Put that shit on. So yeah, the JUCO product should, enhance. I had one guy look at me yesterday. He's like, "So you're telling me that my years don't count? I can tell players that your years here don't count. Come develop, come get tape. They don't count." That's an awesome pitch, I would imagine, for junior colleges. Now, One of the most incredible recruiting pitches I've heard on the high school football recruiting ranks lately, Jonathan, is not only do you have a potential to be a multimillionaire here, but the CEO of Nike is also going to promise you your own shoe line.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Dallas Wilson had going on at Oregon, right? That's what reports were, that one of the final deals or one of the final like pushes for Oregon were, we're going to get you your own shoe deal. Now, if a damn shoe deal and multi-millions don't get me to stay at Eugene, what is? Because Dallas Wilson has apparently requested to get out of his, what are they? It's not a letter of intent nowadays. It's a financial aid agreement. He's trying to get out of Oregon and get to Florida. Now, when you try to do these things, you do these things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody try to do this and not get out. So I guess Dallas Wilson is going to be a Florida Gator.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it. And the whole timeline with it, like coming down to the very last commitment, we talked about it on this show a little bit of, it was very last minute, it felt like, so much so that this guy was committed to Oregon for, I think, a full year. I believe he committed to Oregon in 2023, was going to be an Oregon Duck. Then all of a sudden, crystal balls are flowing in. Everybody's saying he's going to flip to Oregon or Florida on National Signing Day. That's where he's going to go. Goes up to stage, says he's sticking with Oregon. Probably because maybe a last-minute phone call happened to where maybe it was Mr. Knight on the phone saying, hey, we'll give you a shoe. I hope you get your whole brand worked out with Nike. We're going to have you a shoe line and everything. So to me, wanting to get out of this means either one of two things. One, promises were not kept already, whatever that was, whatever like immediate promises were. Or number two, he was given some type of incentive of, hey, you sign here, we're going to give you this immediately, some type of direct deposit. And he got that bag, and I was like, now I'm going to go to Florida.
Either promises were made and not kept at Oregon, or bigger promises were made and trying to be provided at Florida, right? This is, Florida had one of these in the inverse with Jaden Rashada, obviously, one of the more famous ones, where, they offer him $13 million over the phone and a signing bonus apparently on signing day. He flips to Florida, gets to Florida. They realize, either A, man, we do not need to be paying this man $13 million. Absolutely hell no. Or B, man, we can't pay this guy $13 million. So they, don't pay him, and then he ends up getting out of it and going to Arizona State. But I think this is a little bit more to do, Jonathan, with Florida maybe getting in here and influencing this a little bit towards the end. Maybe a final last-ditched effort to get in on the Dallas Wilson mix.
Yeah, so one of the crazier news, I guess, now of early national signing day or post-early national signing day. I mean, a big get for Florida. This was one of those moves where it seemed like when people were saying Florida's going to make strong pushes for some high-caliber players at the end of this class, Dallas Wilson was basically the headliner of that group, and it ultimately didn't happen. And it kind of ended up being a relatively quiet day for Florida, but now you get Dallas Wilson, come play with DJ Lagway for at least 2 years. And I mean, that's a hard pitch also to ignore. I mean, the fact that you can go play with that guy for 2 years.
So, Jonathan, the rare 5-star that actually cut a senior tape on Huddle.
Oh,
yeah, I watched it before the show. It's like 10 days old. So, brand new, fresh tape from the senior year. It's a big, long, fast football player. It builds speed guy though. I think he's faster 20 to 40 than he is 0 to 20, which in this conference that's fine. Okay, and in Florida's offense, that's okay because they run a lot of deep posts and a lot of stuff from the X receiver that's a build speed route. However, in this conference, I think you have to be able to have some suddenness about you, some elite suddenness to create immediate separation. But elite at the top, elite at the catch point. So I think he's verified. I think he's going to be as good as he is rated. However, I do think there are some. If there's some immediate and some early concerns about, hey, can this guy create separation, then don't be surprised there. If I were Florida, I would surround DJ Lagway with guys like this that can separate 20 to 40, and then a bunch of guys that can separate 0 to 5. Guys that can be great after the catch, and then guys that can really pull away from defenders deep, because that's what their offense is created off of, in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of already have that. They have Trey Wilson on the roster, so they have a multitude of skill sets.
For one more year.
For one more year,
yeah,
so the sophomore year.
If you don't think Eugene Wilson, a.k.a. Trey Wilson, the 3-and-done guy, I don't know what they look like. at the slot receiver position.
Yeah, so intrigued to see what Florida's offense is going to look like next year because they had some young players on the roster, like Baugh, the running back. He's going to be back. Trey Wilson's going to be back. Now they're going to have Wilson in the mix and some other guys that they have recruited over the years. So I think that Florida could be a fun offense to watch if it all plays out like you expect it to.
I should know the answer to this question before I get on my show and start talking about this, but did Dallas Wilson even get up to Eugene?
I don't know.
Did he early enroll? Was he on campus for a couple of days and was like, whoa, no way I am staying here? Absolutely not. Or was this never got out of Tampa and Florida got their hooks in him before he even got out there? So what do you got?
Sounds like he did not early enroll because this says he will early enroll at the University of Florida.
Okay. So that seems to me like, because obviously you would imagine Dallas took multiple visits out to Eugene.
Yeah.
It seems far more to me like Florida finished the job before he ever got out of Tampa than this kid got to Eugene, realized he made a mistake and wants to go to Florida, correct?
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, too, like you have to think of maybe and part of it could have just been when it finally came down to it of I've signed with Oregon, I'm about to go be an Oregon Duck, but that also means I'm moving from Tampa, Florida across the country to Eugene. I mean, that's also a big decision, something that's kind of hard to sit with when it's actually happening. I mean, you've grown up in Florida, and then you're going to move across the country away from your family. That's a hard thing to do. So being home, too, that's an easy thing to sell for Florida as well.
Absolutely. Florida's going to be – it's Dallas Wilson and it's Vernell Brown III.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Eugene Wilson. They're going to be weapon-filled.
Yeah. Okay,
now it's about can you maintain – I thought the offensive line was – pretty good this year. Can you maintain that up front? And can you keep the quarterback healthy? And can the defense avoid catastrophic performances that they seemingly have every so often? Do you agree about that with Florida's defense?
Yeah.
I feel like some weeks I'm like, damn, Florida had a great plan. They showed up. I think they have really good football players in my mind. I think their scouting department's doing a pretty good job. It's been a matter of week-to-week consistency on the defensive side of the football from a performance standpoint.
Yeah, and I think what would be scary for opposing fan bases and teams of knowing that Florida hasn't – this was the first time that Florida really felt like they nailed it home on the recruiting class. Like they've had some top 15 classes under Billy, and they've gotten some good caliber players, but he was having them well coached and in the right spots at least with the classes that he had gotten previously. But now – he's getting a 5-star wide receiver. He got a 5-star quarterback last year, and he's recruited kind of at the same level everywhere else. If he's starting to put better pieces around them, it seems like the only path for them and the only avenue for them would be to take the next step forward.
I could be wrong, and Florida, and what I've known about this network and what I know about the internet is if I'm wrong, they will correct me, and Florida fans will correct me. But I've always felt like Billy's recruiting classes have been really, really stout on the defensive side of the football. And at the running back position, and obviously he signed the right quarterback, it's been – and Eugene Wilson. Mm-hmm. But it's been a weaponry thing that he hasn't gone out and got blue chippers. He's got blue chip defensive edge rushers, right? He's got blue chip linebackers. He's got blue chip quarterbacks and running backs. Now he's got blue chip weaponry. This might be something to look out for with regards to Florida.
Yeah, I think something that Florida – and this was even before Billy got there of – Florida was trying to do the route of go into the portal, and they got the Justin Shorter kid out of, I believe it was Penn State, who was a former 5-star. Mm-hmm. He didn't really pan out. There's Jacob Copeland, I believe, was another transfer that they got. It didn't really pan out the way that they thought. So they try to get like these retread guys, I guess you could say, and fill out their playmakers through there. But outside of Kyle Pitts and the kid that's now with San Fran that I'm blanking on right now, I can't think of his name. The Pearsall, Ricky Pearsall. Outside of that, they really haven't had any dominant weapons. But now that's kind of being answered. Now that's being addressed.
Need to roll the bottom ticker, refresh your YouTube if having audio issues. It's a YouTube issue today. It's not us. We got it over here. Okay, we got it over here. All right. I got to remind me about the text message I just got in the local hour.
Okay.
Deuce Robinson?
Yeah, interesting finals list for him.
Yeah,
or
this
what?
Is
I don't know if it's an official finalist list for him, but that's what's being reported.
This is Louisville, this is Arizona State, and this is Florida State for Deuce Robinson. Where's the Where's the big boys?
Don't know. That was my immediate thought.
Was the tape that bad?
I don't know if it's the tape. Like, obviously, Arizona State, that's a thing because Arizona is where he's from, so I guess I understand that. But going from in Arizona, and it's easy to say like, oh, well, that's a downgrade from USC, but Arizona State is in a college football playoff. I mean, they do have that going for them,
Correct.
So maybe it isn't that much of a downgrade. But my immediate takeaway is Louisville is trying really hard. They're trying their best right now to go into the, and they've done this. I mean, they do acquisitions through the portal. That's how they really try and build and beef up their roster over the last couple of years, and it's panned out in some aspects of it. But it feels like they're really trying this class, especially like. You got Miller Moss. Now you're in the mix for Deuce Robinson, and you're in the mix for his teammate, Zachariah Branch. Feels like they're really trying to elevate it even more than they have in years prior.
I wish I was Deuce Robinson's agent. For no cut, I'd do it for free. And here's what I would have told him. If we're going to play football, then we're going to play football. And you are 6'6", and you're 220 pounds, and you're going to have to do everything you can to not be 240 pounds. So why don't we just work to be 250 and be potentially one of the greatest weapons at the tight end position that college football has? And I would have told him that at 18. No different. I remember being out at the Elite 11 when it was really, really good, and the opening had really, really good football players, and they would go out there and they'd play 7-on-7 and they'd run routes. And Deuce Robinson was out there as a rising junior, Jonathan. And at that point in time, he was already a top 50 baseball recruit, and he was a top 50 football recruit. And the discussion for Deuce was, am I going to play baseball or am I going to play football? And I had a discussion with him about, hey, and there's a lot of athletes that have to go through this decision-making process. And a lot of people go to them and go, oh, which one do you love playing more? That ain't the answer. That ain't the question you need to ask. The question you need to ask is, which one do you want to go work at more? If I told you, hey, today we got to go put 14 hours in, Jonathan, you going to put 14 hours in at the batting cage and going and throwing and going and stretching and rehabbing your shoulder, or are you going to go spend 12 hours, lifting weights, looking at tape, going to practice, putting in the grind on the football? Which one of these do you want to do more? And you could clearly see that no one had asked that young man that question that way before. And obviously he's made the decision to pursue football. So now we've got a real decision. Do we want to play wide receiver because we like playing wide receiver, or do we want to go beef up and play tight end because we might make $100 million doing it? I think I want to go make $100 million, and I think I might want to be 250 pounds. And if that decision had already been made, I don't think we're looking, and no offense to Arizona State, Louisville, Florida State, but if Deuce Robinson were a 245-pound H-back tight end in the portal right now, Jonathan, we're looking at probably Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State, and probably $1 million signing bonus. So I think there's a difference here, and I think at his next landing spot, maybe the coaching staff might behoove him to have a tough conversation with him, because I think that's where we're at. Or else we'd be seeing the big dogs, right? It's a big dog athlete. It's a big dog talent. Or maybe I could be mistaken.
I mean, especially considering, and I know that it was a very short time at USC, but knowing that didn't put up the numbers necessarily that you had hoped he would at USC, doing what he's doing now, maybe that should be a sign that maybe some changes need to be made. Maybe we need to go a different route, but maybe that also is a sign of why it is Florida State, Louisville, and Arizona State in the mix for him of changes aren't going to be made. This is what he wants to do. And if he wants to do that, then good on him, but make sure that you're absolutely maximizing that avenue for yourself.
I'm trying to look up some Deuce Robinson baseball stats, because when I looked it up his freshman year at USC, he was getting like every third day DH reps and hitting like 210. Okay, so I don't know if baseball is the path. You know what I mean? I don't know if we need to be out here continuing to forego football opportunities. All right, so in 2024 as a true freshman, so this last baseball season, saw action in 4 games, 2 starts. 167 in those 4 games. So I don't know if baseball needs to be our path. I don't know if wide receiver needs to be our path. I think we could be a damn good tight end. Like Lawrence Cager learned this in the NFL, right? And Lawrence Cager's now going to extend his NFL career by what, 5 years? So, okay. We just extended our net worth by $10 million by making a position change. This is a net worth transition of upwards of maybe $100 million if we could become an elite tight end. That kid could be Jimmy Graham, Jonathan. That's what he could be. Or he could just be another big X that we have to throw red zone touchdowns to and maybe can't separate.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Come on. Chat's going off on the 40K subscriptions. Let's go ahead and give ourselves 3. Feels nice.
Love that.
Feels nice. Feels good.
Another milestone.
Feels good. What's next? 50?
It's 50.
50 and then a hundo?
And then it's 100.
I think we should go. The next milestone we talk about is 50, then 75. Give us a little halfway break, and then a hundo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been lately.
It has.
Got a lot of phone calls. A lot of people trying to ride that wave lately, Jonathan. A lot of people trying to ride that wave, you know. So
should have hopped on earlier.
Should have hopped on earlier. Chat saying we also having that Nicholas Harbor conversation. Deuce Robinson, Nicholas Harbor, maybe you're a tight end, you know. I don't think Nick needs the you're a tight end conversation. I think Nick needs the, hey, let's just run you straight from the slot, you know?
Yeah.
Let's just run you vertically here and make people just wet themselves because you might go down the middle of the field, or just put you in the slot and have you run across the formation. We're going to run you vertically and we're going to run you horizontally. You know who I thought might be great at doing this? Sammy Brown. I thought Sammy Brown might have been an H-back. You know, we don't have to make the kid feel bad telling him he's not a wide receiver and telling him he's a tight end. Let's just tell him, let's put you in the slot. Let's put you in the slot and let's make you Justin Jefferson at LSU.
The Nick Harbor, I was glad to see that Nick Harbor finally started to get production this year. I know South Carolina fans were, because it was a constant conversation of, where's Nick Harbor? Where's Nick Harbor? You get this 5-star who's this all-world speedster by all accounts, and just a massive human as well. That's a very rare thing that you can get, especially on the football field. So I was glad that it seemed like South Carolina, and maybe even Nick as well, finally figured out what his role in an offense needed to be. I mean, he had a massive play in the Alabama game to where he got to one possession, and they had an opportunity to go win that football game. And down the stretch, too, I mean, Nick Harbor was just a massive player for them.
I think if Nick Harbor can consistently run routes and, more importantly, consistently catch the football, he's going to be great.
He's going to have a long career.
I think the best thing for South Carolina fans is that Nick seems to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything or heard anything about Nick Harbor potentially maybe thinking about maybe going into the portal.
Yeah.
I think also part of that is Shane Beamer's willingness to continue to allow that young man to be a track star has behooved that relationship as well out there. So one thing you'll never hear about Shane is I know he's a player's coach. I think players like playing for him. I think it's part of the reason why I cursed him with the I'd play for him stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because you can feel it. It's noticeable with him. The questions about him now rear their head again. I know we're sidetracking here, but, you know, we didn't talk about Dow Loggins being hired as the head coach at App State.
Yeah, we didn't.
This is the fourth time Shane Beamer's going to have to hire an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think so, because it was Satterfield, right? Marcus Satterfield.
Wasn't there one before Satterfield?
I think so.
There was an OC before Satterfield. So it was OC before Satterfield, Loggins, and now he's going to have to go grab another one. And this has always been my concern about these guys that don't have one side of the ball.
Yeah.
You don't have a background in one side of the ball. It's awesome that you're a great CEO. It's awesome that you're a great motivator. And those are important things as football coaches. But when you become a college football coach that gets to a successful level, like Shane has now reached, right? You go 9-3, your offensive coordinator gets hired out to go get a promotion. That is what happens to successful staffs, okay? So now you got a guy that leaves, and you got to, know what to hear from the candidates that you're interviewing, right? Like, you might just get wooed by a guy that's a motivator like yourself, or you might get wooed by a guy that's a great interviewer. If you don't have a history and a background of being a great offensive coordinator, when your offensive coordinator gets hired out, maybe you don't know what to hear, right? Maybe you have a bad selection process. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying we open ourselves up for that being the case if we don't have a background in one of these sides of the football. Now, the good news for him is he comes from an area, right, where played under or coached under Lincoln Riley as a tight ends coach. So he has some semblance of background of what good offenses look like. But you still got to go out and hire the right guy. And obviously this makes concerns for me about year 2 as a starter for a guy like Honoris Sellers.
Well, they have hired Mike Shula.
Oh, it's pro.
And that to me feels like what Georgia did with the Todd Monken route of Mike Shula is a football lifer. I mean, he has been in football. He's been an offensive coach, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator for multiple NFL programs, dipped his toe in the college ranks, and now he's at South Carolina of, let's go get us a guy that has been around football for forever. And I think that's a good role to go here because Mike Shula has developed quarterbacks over his career multiple times. Again, he's been a quarterbacks coach in the NFL, and he has experience at a lot of different places. So getting that type of guy who can implement an offense that probably is catered towards a guy like a Norris Sellers who might have one last year this next year, depending on how things go. I think that's a good option for them, but that's kind of what it feels like to me of what George did with Todd Monken, of a guy that's been a head coach before at the NFL, has been an offensive coordinator for a long time, who's been in this game for a long time. Bring him in, maybe things to go smoothly.
Jonathan, what's the one thing we ask for on this network?
Consistency.
Consistency. You just talked about Shula, NFL background, NFL guy, brought him in. That's exactly what he did with Dow Loggins. Like, Loggins wasn't this lifer in the college ranks. He's had some stops in the college ranks, but his bulk of his resume is, look what I've done in the NFL, and this is the same thing with Shula. So you see a level of consistency there. And look, I think Shane's the recruiting hound in that building. I don't remember hearing about all of Dow Loggins' mystical performances on the recruiting trail. Most of what gets done in that building from the recruiting standpoint, in my opinion, and from what I've heard, comes from the top down. This isn't a, hey, I'm going to let my position coaches go out here and do the bulk of the work. Sounds like Shane is kind of the main voice in most of those recruiting trips. So could be interesting on that one. Jonathan, there's an SEC documentary coming out, I guess.
Yeah, it was announced.
This is one of those magic tricks where they pull the sheet out from underneath all the things on the table, and it's like, you think you got a nice, well-lit dinner, candlelit dinner, and it's right out from underneath you, and on goes the entrees. They go with them.
Yeah, it was announced yesterday that I guess Netflix has been recording a documentary this season, and it's like behind the scenes, and it was, when it was initially announced, it was like the biggest games of the season in the SEC. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. You're going to get some Georgia, Texas. You're going to get some Georgia, Alabama. You're going to get some sound clips of Lane Kiffin after beating Georgia. Like, this is going to be heavily featuring Georgia, Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, like all these great games. So then after initially announcing the documentary, then it's kind of slipped under the rug of, oh, by the way, Georgia's not in it, Texas isn't in it, Alabama's not in it, Ole Miss isn't in it, and Oklahoma's not in it. So then my thought was, oh, well, thank you for saving my time because I'm not even going to bother watching this anymore because you just took the biggest brands out of it.
I got a list of things that you should be excited that you might see in this, despite the fact that yes, indeed, the big brands, including Missouri, have opted out of this. By the way, I love how Eli called On3 yesterday and was like, On3 initially reports that all these big brands have opted out. And then I see another tweet like 2 hours later. On3 has been called by Eli Drinkowitz. They also opted out. Don't forget, they're a big brand too. Hang up the phone.
Classic.
You're not going to be able to see my camo cargos and my flip-flops and Crocs out here on the SEC documentary, unfortunately. So you're not going to see camo cargos from Eli Drinkowitz. However, there's definitely, Jonathan, going to be a shot of Pitbog's hog.
Oh, yeah. And I need it to be the hog statue with Sam Pittman, and I mean the old-timey beach chairs, like the leather strap ones, the ones that they could snap at any moment. Like, there's a few broken already, so you're really only sitting on 4 of them with the red Igloo cooler, just the tiny one, not even the big one, the tiny one with a 6-pack of beer in it.
And as he finishes the last beer, as he takes it off of the nylon packet, right?
Yeah.
He gets into his side-by-side. He gets into his 4x4, and he drives down to the nicest stocked pond money can buy.
Yes.
And they sit there and they talk about the land and the way that the landscape of college football is. And you get this waxing poetic of Pit Boss ripping lips on this stocked pond. That's exactly what's going to happen.
That might win an Oscar.
I think so too. I think there's also going to be a shot of Jeff Lebby at the nicest fried catfish den that there is in Starkville, Mississippi.
So that's more than likely a Citgo gas station.
Yeah.
Because there's not nice restaurants from what I've heard in Starkville. It's going to be fried catfish from a gas station. This is the best thing you could ever buy.
And he's going to tell you walking in, I know it looks like a gas station, but wait till you see this fried catfish.
I think you're definitely getting a scene, and because I think there's been an evolution here in this one. Initially the accusations where Shane Beamer gives a feet for free, walks around barefoot in the office. I think there's now since then been a transition here, and I think he just has a massive Croc collection.
What?
I think he's got black Crocs. I think he's got the South Carolina Garnet Crocs, and I think there's going to be a few too that, of course, I don't even know what the hell they're called, but the little ornament things you put on your Crocs.
Oh yeah,
the little
Croc charms.
The Croc charms. There we
Yeah.
go. There's going to be some with some Croc charms on it, but there's going to be a whole spread of Crocs. Like, these are my game day Crocs. These are my practice field Crocs. These are my office Crocs. Once that's got the little fuzzies around it that keep your feet warm.
You think Beamer's a strap-up Croc guy or strap-down Croc guy?
Depends.
2x2 or 4x4?
Depends.
Oh, yeah, situational Croc guy.
Yeah, see, the office Crocs, yeah, 2x2. But then you get on the football field, you got to put that thing in four-wheel drive, baby.
Love that. I'm just thinking of the SEC documentary and voice guy, the voiceover guy going, and when you become the head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies, one of the most important things is learning how to Colt yell like a male cheerleader. And then we see a shot of Mike Elko learning how to do the midnight yell. Jonathan, what do you think?
I'm just trying to, that has to be such a massive culture shock for Mike Elko. You're taking a guy from Duke.
I don't know, dude. You ever seen a Duke basketball game?
I have, multiple times. Not in person, but
They're
am I missing something?
They're pretty wild. Those student sections.
Well, I think that the yell is a culture shock for anybody that's never
sure.
been introduced to it. I mean, you're going from a prestigious academic school like Duke, and then you're telling them, yeah, on Friday nights we all huddle around in Kyle Field and we do a midnight yell.
And then at the end of it, we light torches and walk through the town.
And we do it in overalls.
What?
Whoa.
What? After we see Elko learning how to do the Colt yelling, I see an immediate hard pan to Broadway in Nashville. And you see Clark Lee standing on a soapbox trying to convert people to Commodore fans.
You think he offers them some under the table payment of I'll give you $5 if you just show up?
Nah, dude, I think he's going hardcore. I think he's trying to convert, it looks like a scene of modern day Martin Luther trying to convert the Protestants to Lutheranism. That's what I see. Clark Lee's I promise you, we're going to be good. This year, Forehead has been known, we will beat Alabama this year.
I'm sure that there was certainly a change in attitude after that Alabama win. It might have been a little bit easier,
Probably.
And I think after that,
Soapbox got a little bigger,
and
funding. Bullhorn got a little louder.
Get some extra.
Crowd around him got a little bit more.
The ampage got upped.
It's like the first time Jesus broke bread and made it into, wine.
I think my favorite scene that's going to occur in this documentary is it's going to cut to, because Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers did not opt out of this one. And I can see it right now. It's behind the scenes, so I would imagine there's going to be some footage of them being in the film room with all the players on Sunday morning following a win or a loss in this scenario. And it's going to be Hugh Freeze sitting there with his clicker just replaying a Peyton Thorne interception. Probably the one against Oklahoma where it's what are we doing? Just replaying it over and over and over. And then he's going to say, cut the damn cameras off, just so he can absolutely get into Peyton Thorne's grill and tell him how much he sucks.
You know who's going to be there? Jordan Rodgers. You know this actually happened, right?
Yeah, I forgot about this.
Before an Auburn football game this year, Hugh Freeze on a Friday night called Jordan Rodgers into his office and watched 2 hours of just how shitty Peyton Thorne is before he went and called one of his football games. I kid you not. It's a real story. Right after we watch Hugh Freeze just say, cut the damn tape, I need a video right after we watch Hugh Freeze throw Peyton Thorne right up underneath every bus that's in the state of Alabama. I need a video, straight hard pan cut, right to Mark Stoops. Have you ever seen the Avocados from Mexico commercial?
Oh, yeah.
Coach, did you just bench me to the Avocados from Mexico commercial theme song? I need a theme of that. But instead of Mark Stoops benching Brock Vandagriff to the theme of Avocados from Mexico song, I need Mark Stoops benching Brock Vandagriff to the Steven Ranella Meat Eaters introduction song. It's Coach, did you just cut me to the theme song of Meat Eaters? Yeah, but don't worry, Brock. We got great hunting around here.
I am a meat eater. Hey, yo. This is the one that I absolutely need. It better be in here because, well, actually, I take that back. But this should have been in there because Oklahoma opted out of it, and I'm disappointed for this only reason because there's not too many highlights probably from Oklahoma's season this year, but there is one. There is one. And I needed footage of Brent Venables and his children going to Taco Bell after the Alabama win, spending, I think, like $250
They
on the
spent
Taco Bell.
$96 at Taco Bell.
I don't know what you're ordering, but that's what I need to know. I need to know what $96 worth of Taco Bell looks like, and I need the spread. I need to know what it. I need to see that.
That's not the most expensive bill that happened because of that. You know what was the plumbing charge on the Venables house the next day. Ain't no doubt they had to call a plumber, and them things ain't cheap. I mean, the dispatch call alone $75.
Got to empty the septic tank.
A racket. An absolute racket. How do you spend $96 at a Taco Bell?
That's what I'm wondering. I need to see that. I need to know what that looks like.
I mean, he got like a Phillip Rivers-esque family. Brett be getting down?
Might be. I don't know.
Unless it doesn't happen, Jonathan.
Oh,
I'm
no.
waiting for the better play in between the breaks, by the way.
I got one more.
Oh, okay.
This one also won't be in it. Or actually, yeah, it will be. Or Brian Kelly's definitely upset that he was not included on the group text that we're opting out of this. That Kirby Smart and Kalen DeBoer and all the boys got together and was like, we're definitely not doing this, right? Like, yeah, we're opting out of this. We're not going to be included. And Brian Kelly got that alert yesterday and was like, we can opt out of this? This was a decision for us? Where was this one at? Definitely got side text.
Man. Brian Kelly.
Green Bubble Brian. Cat left out.
My favorite about the revelation of the group text is that there is indeed two different group texts.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one that is mandatory by Greg Sankey of all 16 of you guys hanging out. And then there's the group text of actual friends. Me, myself, and I'm not a fan of group text. I just don't like them. So I don't think my feelings would be hurt, but they would because I love myself and I want people to love me.
Your feelings would be hurt if the other group chat is the likes of Kirby Smart and the big names like the Lane Kiffins and the Steve Sarkisians, and you're sitting there wondering, well, how do I get in that group text? Like, I'm definitely excluded. I'm definitely thought of as a second thought in this resume of coaches.
I'm not family.
No, you're not.
Dang. It's unfortunate. Unless it doesn't happen, Jonathan, what do you got?
Ooh, got some good playoff scenario ones for unless it doesn't happen.
I got
here.
Josh Heupel and Ryan Day having an absolute panic off at the end of this football game. Just like two dudes staring at each other going, hey, you going to piss down your leg? No, I am, you am. And then eventually one of them's going to piss down their leg, ultimately letting the other pisser down the leg off the hook. So that's what I got going on.
I think it'd be so funny if it's Ryan Day is like, I'll do the big brain move. I'm going to do the Dan Lanning move. I'm going to intentionally put 12 men on the field
not realizing
the rule got changed and him just losing his absolute mind. And so then Tennessee get moved up 15 yards only for Nico to run out of bounds as the clock expires.
All jokes aside, and I know we've laughed really, really hard the last 25 minutes of this show, but it's not just I got clipped yesterday on the next round talking about the standard at Ohio State is winning national titles, and people told me, well, they've only got 8, and and what I tell you is that the only coaches at Ohio State that haven't been fired are coaches that won titles. Urban faked a retirement. Jim Tressel got tattoos at a tattoo parlor, got him out. So, like, if you win a title, you're there for life. If you don't, you get gone. So it kind of is the standard for the last 25 years at that program. That being said, to me, it's not just the fact that Ryan Day hasn't won a title. It's the fact that every time he gets in one of these games, he does something catastrophic. It's the 12 men on the field against Michigan. People give Will Howard a bunch of shit for the way that Oregon game ended, and they don't remember the fact that their head coach ran, 10, 12 seconds off the clock?
Yes.
Trying to get into the right formation and pre-snap, check with me's at the line of scrimmage in a 2-minute. It was insane. With a timeout still in pocket, I believe, in that situation. Nobody seems to remember that one. Everyone remembers Marvin Harrison Jr. getting knocked out in that football game, and they excuse that one away. But no one remembers the fact that Kirby Smart, and Georgia fans do, but I don't think Ohio State fans remember, Kirby Smart simply outcoached him in that football game. One of the biggest plays in that game is Kirby Smart calling a timeout. Now, Jonathan, I remember why Kirby Smart knew that was a fake punt. Do you?
All I know is that they had studied film and they knew in a certain formation they were going to fake it.
Not only did they study the film, this network did. If you watched our film study on that Ohio State, the what to expect, we showed you against, I think it was Michigan 2 weeks before. They put in that fake punt. It got called back due to a misalignment or something. And we showed it. We showed, hey, look, watch this. Hey, watch out. And it was on the tape. So the other coach outworked you and outdid you and outcoached you in that moment in that football game, right? It's not just it's why, in my opinion, he's got to go out and win big or lose tight in a final semifinal game or national title, because this can't be a first round exit. I got beat by Tennessee at home. If that's the case, buddy, I think we might have a big time job opening come available up there in Columbus.
If Tennessee does win, there's only one way. There's only one appropriate way for the final seconds, the closing minutes of the TV footage to close, and it better be with the Tennessee T flag getting planted at midfield after that pansy up at Capitol Hill, wherever
Felonies
you are.
for all of you. Felonies.
Take the felony.
Felonious behavior. Felonious behavior. Indicted. Indict them all.
And I think you're just not only because of that, of like wanting to make it a felony to plant a flag at midfield at Ohio State, but also because I don't think Ohio State fans and really anybody's, even some media personalities, I don't think they understand the type of fan base that they're challenging. Like Kirk Herbstreit is saying that he thinks there's no possible way that 30,000 Tennessee fans could show up to this football game.
Sir.
You're messing with the wrong fan base. So I think it'd only be fitting that if Ohio State does lose this game and Tennessee wins, that they plant a flag and then it just pans out to the masses of orange that fill that stadium.
I mean, I think Tennessee's a beautiful state. Tennessee, beautiful state. There ain't much more that they care about in that state than the Tennessee Volunteers.
Oh, no.
I mean, they don't have a professional baseball team.
Nope.
They, I guess, have a professional football team, but they got that in 1998. They ain't had nothing like this. And by the way, they got a pro team right around the time they got their last national title, okay? They care about this football program, all right, at a high rate. And it's obvious. I can't wait to go up there in a couple years after they build that
The battery thing?
that battery type thing they got outside that stadium.
Oh, my gosh.
My God, man. The amount of money that they pour into that football program is astronomical. And the baseball program. They're building a brand new baseball facility out there. They just won a national title with, like, I don't know, the 7th biggest baseball stadium in the conference. They're about to have one of the nicest stadiums in the country. Okay, so and pretty damn good at hoops right about now, too. So, yeah, doing good things up there in Nashville or in Knoxville. I expect them to flood that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Well, from what I heard, it sounds like that Ohio State went about selling these tickets all the wrong way. Like for Georgia, when it was known that they were going to likely be in the playoff, they opened up the tickets to get first round for a home game. Like they did that like 3 weeks ago. And it was just kind of known within the Georgia fan base, like, hey, go ahead and buy these, buy them up. I think Ohio State, from what it sounds like, they just kind of opened it up to everybody. Anybody in like whatever, whoever you are, could go on their website and buy a ticket to this football game. Yeah, I think you're going to end up seeing why that was a very poor choice.
Did I get duped by the internet yesterday, or did Tennessee fans really hack Apple Maps and turn?
Oh no,
Ohio
I think
State?
that's a legitimate
That's
thing.
real.
I've seen it on Wikipedia. It's been changed.
All right, look, I understand the Wikipedia thing. All right, that's a public website that you can go in there and implement information in it all the time. And if their coders don't catch you, it can be up there. However, because I got duped on a high school paper one time by a buddy of mine that thought it would be funny to get me caught looking at Wikipedia. That's how I learned that Wikipedia was out here very manipulative. However, I am unfamiliar with Tennessee fans' games. If y'all are smart enough to be out here hacking Apple Maps, I'm sorry. I mean, you are far more capable than I ever thought. Like hacking somebody's phone number, you just got to get the right, girl that may have once gotten into the DMs of Stetson Bennett. Mm-hmm. But you out here hacking Apple Maps, dog. You taking down Steve Jobs and them's, buddy. you way smarter than I thought you were ever capable of. Motherfuckers that do that get hired by the government. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for those unfamiliar, someone renamed it on Apple Maps to where if you look up Ohio State's football stadium, it says Neyland North. That's what they got going on.
Crazy
right now.
work.
I think it's awesome that within the last 3 weeks, because I think Tennessee and Ohio State fans have known for a little bit that they were going to play one another in the first round, that this pseudo rivalry has now been sparked up, because I haven't gotten this from the other fan bases of like Texas and Clemson. I haven't seen any hatred or beefing between those two. I haven't seen anything between SMU and Penn State, but Tennessee and Ohio State fans,
Been getting at it.
they've been getting after it in the most elite way possible.
And I love to see that. We love to see that. I got another lesson. Last lesson doesn't happen for me. I got Penn State routing SMU and Clemson rock fighting Texas to either a close loss or a win, and people racing to make the argument. Here's what's going to happen. If that situation happens, right? Penn State routes SMU. You're going to have people rushing to Twitter to tell the world that the ACC sucks. All right, and that the Big Ten's great. And then if Clemson like narrowly beats Texas or narrowly plays them close, you're going to have a bunch of people rushing to Twitter to say that the SEC sucks. And you're going to have like that Spider-Man meme of people making the transitive property argument and all not knowing that they're idiots and wrong, while all thinking that they can stand 10 toes down being right. This happened to me a couple weeks ago when Indiana got their doors blown off by Ohio State. And I was like, see, Indiana sucks, not a playoff team. And then the SEC was like, you know what? We're going to lose to a bunch of 6-6 teams today.
Shout out Alabama.
Shout out Alabama. It wasn't just them, though. To shout out Texas A&M.
Yep.
Because Texas A&M's like, you know what? Auburn can Jordan Harris today.
Yeah, sure. My final one actually has to do with Penn State and SMU as well. 80-plus points scored. Overtime.
Give it to me.
I mean, just an absolute all-time classic.
Burner.
I don't want a single ounce of defense played in this game.
No.
I just want the doors blown off on both sides. Whoever gets the final possession, whoever scores the final touchdown, I don't care who it is. I just want absolute chaos. I want an absolute shootout.
I want to see a bunch of defenders looking at the sideline like this going, what's the call, coach? Meanwhile, Kevin Jennings right by his face. I want to see the same thing on the other side. Hey, where's that Tyler Warren guy? Boom, 250, head top. That's what I want to see in that football game. I think it's the only way that one's fun.
Yeah.
You know, if that one's 21-17, I ain't watching it. That's bad offense, not good defense.
Yeah, that game has a very high chance of Penn State dominating whoever, and that game getting out of hand. Everybody switches to the 1 p.m. NFL game.
All right, Jonathan, final college football playoff first round predictions. Let's get after it. Starting with the Friday night football game, Indiana goes on the road. The state of Indiana state championship in college football this year. Indiana at Notre Dame. Jonathan, I think Notre Dame is the team that's far more capable of winning this one 21-17. And I think that's what this game ultimately ends up in. What causes concern for me on this is I do believe Indiana can create some type of substantive run game. And when they can't, they don't score points. But when they can, they put it up. But I have a real question about Indiana's won one close football game, and it was against Michigan, and it was because Michigan couldn't summon any type of offense. But every other football game, they either beat the shit out of teams, or when they're playing against a team that's more talented than them, they kind of get beat and handled like they did against Ohio State. So I wonder if that's going to be this type of football game. And if Ohio State can just kind of like run the football and play defense against you and beat you 31-17, why can't Notre Dame do that to you? You know?
Yeah, that's why I think I have Notre Dame winning this game like 27-17.
Yeah.
I think, and it's not every. I don't even think it's ever going to. It might be a one-score game for a lot of this, but I think it's always going to feel like Notre Dame has this game handled, because I think that offense is going to feel so difficult for Indiana. Like if they do score a touchdown, it's going to be because they got the right look from Notre Dame, and Cignetti and the offense just drew up the perfect play, got like an explosive touchdown.
And that's my pathway to an Indiana win. I think there's in my mind, there's a 65% chance Notre Dame wins this game. The 35% is my belief that, and based off film, that Notre Dame all year has been very simplistic on defense. And Notre Dame fans were like, you just called Notre Dame simplistic. Yeah, watch them. They play way more man coverage than any team that we've studied on this network all year. All year. We're SEC bias homers. We study nothing but SEC teams historically that are man-to-man football teams. They want to bump and run. They want to play coverage all game long because they got corners to do so. Notre Dame has corners to do so. There's no doubt about that. But when you're a man-to-man football team on, let's call it 80% of snaps, that tells me I have 80% of a chance to get into man beaters and have an opportunity to create rubs, to create routes that cause conflict for the one coverage that you want to live in majority of snaps. Kirk Cignetti can get into his bag on those types of things. You don't always need guys that can just win against man-to-man coverage. No, I can design concepts that win against man-to-man coverage. Can he do enough of those to create explosives? Most man beaters, Jonathan, are 5 to 7 yard routes. We're trying to create those rubs early, not late, right? But can you create some type of man beater that creates an explosive? That's the challenge that Kirk Cignetti's got going on. And also, by the way, I do believe that if this game gets put at the feet of these quarterbacks, if it's like, hey, which one of you quarterbacks is going to make more NFL throws today? Curtis Rourke's going to do that. I mean, I believe Curtis Rourke can make more of those than Riley Leonard.
And that was the point I was about to make is I think something that has kind of gone under the radar of this game is Indiana has a better quarterback. Indiana has they can rely on that and would feel a lot more comfortable, I think, relying on Rourke to take them to a win than Riley Leonard would.
Yeah. I think everyone watching that game, if it's left on the arms, if you've been watching Curtis Rourke this year, that dude makes big-time throws. Now, he's not a super elite athlete. He's not going to make his legs aren't a threat in this football game. His arm is, and tight window throws are something that he can do. I just worry against blue chippers, against blue chip defenses, this Indiana offense gets made super dependent on RPOs to live in 2nd and 7.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a problem. That leads to tight coverage, and that leads to interceptions, especially when your quarterback's not a threat, because it's really not an RPO. It's a read pass. It's not a read pass option. The quarterback's not an option. His legs aren't a problem. We're both on Notre Dame?
Yep.
Okay, but we don't think it's a landslide victory.
No.
Okay. On to the next football game, SMU at Penn State. Jonathan, how do you see this one playing out?
I think that I see this playing out as like a Penn State 31-20 win. I think that Penn State it's really solid on defense, and when you have a quarterback like Kevin Jennings, where it is like a heartbeat monitor watching him play, literally, but also like his play style is that of sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, and it kind of happens on back-to-back plays. That kind of scares me against a defense like Penn State, where they can turn the football over on you, and they will. I think they are going to force turnovers on Saturday, and I think that's why Penn State is going to kind of just walk their way to a win, because I think that Penn State is going to be able to walk into this game and do what they want to do. When you envision Penn State football, Big Ten football, I think Penn State is going to be able to do that. When you envision SMU's offense and what they're trying to do, I don't think they can do that. I don't think it's going to be easy for them to walk in and just kind of play their brand of football. So I think that Penn State's going to turn this game into what they want and how they envision this game going, and that's why I think they're going to win 31-20.
It scares me for Penn State going to this game when I turn tape on and see you for an entire quarter looking at the sideline with your hands up, very confused against Oregon. Now, if you were playing Georgia, I think lining up playing Georgia is about beating the man in front of you, okay? And because they got great football players on both sides of the ball. They're not this like super innovative, unique, brand new every week offense, right? Oregon is that. Oregon can be that. Georgia will put a few wrinkles in, but they're not putting brand new formations in. They're not putting things in every week where it's like, we didn't see this last week on tape. No, Georgia kind of does what they do and do it at a really, really high rate. SMU is a football team that plays with a lot of pace and plays with a lot of attempted confusion. They're trying to get you off balance. They're trying to have you playing on your heels, confused on what you're looking at. So I do think there is an avenue in this football game where SMU wins a shootout or puts Penn State's offense into a 21-7 football game, very akin to what they did last week to Clemson. So I think there's an opportunity for that, to play out. And also, SMU all year has done a really good job playing the run. They did a good job last week limiting, Clemson's run game. So, man, it was one of the games before I even looked at the tape. I was like, Penn State's winning that football game. And then I watched the tape and I'm like, I don't know, man. I think SMU might get into a shootout and win this game. Give me SMU 34-31.
Ooh, all right.
Don't feel good about it. I think there's a 52% chance that happens and a 48% chance that Penn State wins 27-20.
I like it.
Next ball game, we got Clemson at Texas. Big brand football game, Jonathan. Big brand football game.
It is. And part of me thinks that Texas could just absolutely blow them out. I do think that Texas could just, kind of a very similar style of how Georgia beat Clemson early on in the year, and I think that's kind of why I'm leaning this, is because of like the pre-existing knowledge that Georgia did this to them. Why couldn't Texas? But I also think that Clemson by far is not what they were week 1 when they played Georgia. I think I think Cade Klubnik is playing better football than he was at that time. I think he's gained some confidence, and I think he was forced to learn throughout the season that if it is put on my shoulders, I can get the job done. So that's kind of why I've stuck with the prediction that this is going to be a defensive battle. This is going to be a close football game. This is going to be a 4-quarter football game. And I think that Texas is going to win 27-20. That's kind of the score that I'm sitting with. I think Texas's offense, and I trust Steve Sarkisian more to be able to put up points and score as opposed to than I do Clemson, but I trust both of these defense a lot, and I trust it more than either offense.
If Texas does control this football game and blow them out, it's going to be 27-6. It's not going to be 42-10.
Yeah.
Those are two different football games.
Sure.
You feel me? I think the only avenue to a Clemson win is 75 yards rushing from Cade Klubnik, 220 yards passing. I don't think there's a way where you're scoring 40 points and winning this football game for Clemson. Defense is way too good from Texas. But if you can – and here's what's crazy about this recipe for success for Clemson. This ain't what they do. Clemson's trying to take 105 snaps every football game. That film study that we watched, Jonathan, against Pitt, that's a football game. They score, 27 points? Mm-hmm. They scored 27 points. They had 25 plays in the first quarter. You know what I mean? Like, they are getting reps. They were on pace to take 100 snaps in that football game. So this whole idea of, like, most times you get in these games and it's like, hey, you're going to have to lean on defense in a run game. Most of the time that comes with a recipe of shortening the game. Now, that's what they did against Georgia. Clemson did. They took 57 snaps in that football game. They wanted to play slow. They huddled up. They wanted to play slow. They started the football game playing slow. So maybe they come out and play that same brand of football and try to win it 17-10. I think that's the avenue for success and the avenue for a win. I think this game ultimately ends up more like a 27-14 Texas win. I think it's just offense is going to be way too hard for Clemson.
Yeah.
They're going to get put at such a disadvantage and such a one-sided affair in terms of having to lean on Cade Klubnik throwing the ball.
Yeah, and it really doesn't make me feel good about this going into this game for Clemson, knowing that Phil Maffa is banged up. Like, they've already said that he's going to require shoulder surgery after the season, and the backup, I believe, is also not playing in this one. So your run game is already handicapped, and you're going against a team that is really, really good against the run.
Yep. We're both on Texas.
Yeah.
But a 17-10 Clemson win wouldn't surprise you?
No, not at all.
Just that the Texas offense getting put in a stranglehold?
I mean, Georgia has proven you can turn Quinn Ewers over. I mean, you can find ways to create turnovers, and if Clemson is doing that, then, yeah, they could be in a position to win.
Is this the Arch Manning game?
I don't know.
You can't struggle on offense in this one.
No.
You had an extra bullet in the chamber last week in that SEC championship game. This must win.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to implement some more Arch Manning in this one because you could really test Clemson's team speed with him, and that's something you should be attacking.
And add gaps and add hats to that run game. I think the biggest game of the weekend, Jonathan, is Ohio State and Tennessee, and it's not even close. I think it goes in order: SMU, Penn State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. You agree?
I mean, these are two massive brands. These are, and especially because you get the classic SEC versus Big Ten, and I think it's also because not only do you get that type of rivalry, but you get two teams that I think are very evenly matched. I think that both teams are good on defense, and I think that both defenses are going to play a major role on Saturday. And I think you're going to, and it boils down to which offense is going to find a way to not necessarily fix their issues, but be better at what they've struggled with the most this year. Like, if Will Howard is providing consistent quarterback play with his arm, not with his legs, because whenever they've had to lean on Howard this year, it's been, we're going to run you to the left, we're going to run you to the right, you're going to get us a couple first downs, whatever. But I think that if Will Howard can do that, and if Nico can hit his deep shots, I think that's what's going to decide this football game of which shortcoming of these offenses is going to improve the most on Saturday against two really good defenses.
I wonder what Josh Heupel's record is against defensive coordinators facing him for the first time.
It's a good question.
Because when you go to play this football team, and it's my key analysis point on this game all year, all week long. I think Tennessee's defense is going to take away or limit Ohio State's run game. I think they're going to put it at the feet of Will Howard. I am Mr. Anti-Will Howard Deep State, have been all year. You guys know that from me, all right? I just don't think you can overstate the amount of shock that you have when you play this system for the first time. The amount of you'll never be able to simulate the speed. You can act like you can. You're never going to be able to, because in practice, it's not the real thing. It's never going to be the real thing. You can't simulate the physicality. You can't assimilate. We're tackling him to the ground. I've got to get back up, run back to the ball. Everybody got to get lined up, call the play. We can try to 2-huddle all we want, which is what every coach, I guarantee, tries to do, Jonathan. They run 2 scout units, and they get plays, as many snaps as they possibly can, and they work on conditioning that week, and they try to get everyone set. But you cannot simulate what it actually looks like, especially when Nico's at the other helm on the other side of the football. So the idea that Ohio State's going into this for a first-time prep, and the only one in the entire building that has any type of history going up against this football team is the sophomore safety that just got there 8 months ago, in Caleb Downs, that makes me feel really, really queasy about this matchup. And like defense running the football, better quarterback play. Give me Tennessee by a touchdown.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think Tennessee is going to win this game, and I think you'll kind of get to me, I'll get an early indicator of how if I think Tennessee is going to win this game of Ohio State's interior defensive line, and really the defensive line as a whole, all the way out to the edge rushers, hasn't exactly been when it has been in years prior for Ohio State. So do you trust your defensive line to be able to stop the run without adding in a Caleb Downs into the box? Like, how are they going to address Tennessee's run game in the first quarter of that football game? That, to me, is going to indicate who's going to win this football game, but I do think Tennessee's going to win. And I think it's like by 3. I think it's like 27-24.
So this isn't the question for you, my statistician. This is the question for my bum of a gambling addict. 7-point spread in this football game for Ohio State. Vegas thinks they know something that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel a little uneasy.
Yeah, I'll be taking.
It is what it is.
I'll be taking Tennessee +7.
Yeah, I will be too. I might take a money line.
Ooh,
Let them hang.
I like it.
Let them hang, my boy. I'm slamming unders on Will Howard when we get to the local hour, by the way. Which we're going to right now. We got a whole nother hour coming up, and it's a loaded one. It's on local hour. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button in between the breaks. We'll be back on the other side with a new live play with our friends over at Better. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in to another hour here on the Film Guy Network. If you're just showing up and you're like, hey, why is the goofy dude in the suit? Goofy dude in the suit going to be on Feinbaum for the 5th, 6th?
Yeah.
There's just too many to count at this point, man. Going to be on Feinbaum today at 5:30. Make sure you show up for there. All right, we are back, and I told you I promised you a better pick here in the local hour.
It just disappeared.
We got it coming up because I locked my phone on accident. We've got a better pick coming up for you guys. If you're looking for a new place this season to make better or player prop plays, Better is the place to be. Enter promo code Brooks today over there. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $200 over there, and it's easy. Enter more than or less than key player props on key players in key football games across the world of college football. Are we good?
We are good.
Across the world of college football over there. Let's show you how easy it is to make a play. I like hammering these Will Howard unders. I think Nico's going to have a big football game in this matchup this weekend. 185 yards passing. Come on, dude. We're taking the over on that one with Nico right there. Event removed. Okay, players unavailable. Apparently Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers have been removed from Better Plays. Carson Beck making sense there. Quinn Ewers, interesting why he would be removed on the players unavailable list there. Dylan Sampson, I think he's going to, 94.5. That's tough line. That's a tough line, Jonathan.
I probably wouldn't touch it.
I'm not going to touch it. We're going to stay away. All right, let's stay away from that, and let's go hammer the under on Will Howard. 237.5.
Ooh.
Give me the under. Woo! We got an easy play over there on Better today. We're going to make it a perfect play over there with those guys today. We're going to place that entry again. Head over to Better. Use promo code Brooks for a 100% deposit match up to $200. Dude, 237.5. They just handed me money on Better.
Yeah, That's a steep line for Will
You
Howard.
popping a stir right now?
Got to do it. Last show, Thursday. Got to make sure I end the week on a high note in the Talk the Dog hour. The juice cannot be lacking. So might have to insert a little foos, but it's not going to be foos, all right?
Insertion of foos here on hour number 2. Last hour, best hour. Jonathan, this was a grinding week for us, man. We put it in this week. We absolutely put the work in this week. We had, 4 film studies come out this week?
Yeah.
4 film
Or 3.
studies.
We did one last week.
And them dogs didn't even play.
Nope.
Them dogs didn't even play. I think we had a great week this week on the network. We had a tremendous showing. The audience showed up and showed out. They adjusted to sudden change here on the network. Normally we're 8 to 10.
Yeah.
We showed up 12 to 2. Bangarang. 550 people showing up ad nauseum every week or every day.
Tremendous.
Gotta
week.
love it. Appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys for showing up and showing out. Where do you want to start here in the local hour, Jonathan?
Do you want to? I more so want to start with this because so I don't forget. But do you want to start with this text message that I was supposed to remind you of?
Oh, yeah. So we'll start with state title games. So I was at state title yesterday and all week. That's why we're here at noon. So let's go through the rundown and observations of the game, and then we'll get to these questions or things that I reminded you to remind me about last night because the ADD brain be bouncing around. But Julian Lewis was very clearly hurt to me in that football game. I don't want to make any excuses for anybody, but that guy, prime example, that it doesn't have the world's biggest arm. He's not Josh Allen. But in the years that I've watched him, I've never seen him miss a vertical ball inside, like completely underthrow footballs. I've never seen balls come out of his hand, and I'm like, ooh, that looked weird. That didn't come out right. Like, again, not 6'5", not 235 pounds, doesn't run a 4.4, not the world's biggest freak of an athlete, okay? But never misses with in terms of ball placement. Never has. It's always been why I've been, favorable of the eval the entire time. So that was noticeable to me. Also was wearing 2 gloves.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, because I think in the second round playoff game, I think he hurt his throwing hand.
Okay.
Something happened. It got hit. Something happened. So the extra glove helped with grip because I
Okay.
think he was having problems grabbing the football. So that was the first and foremost. The other thing, Tyler Atkinson, my God, that's the best in-state linebacker I've evaluated in person. And look, I know Zayden Walker's great. Zayden Walker's going to be great. And Zayden Walker's 1B of this 1A discussion. But it's Tyler Atkinson for me by far. We have a nose grade on our linebacker metric, Jonathan. There ain't going to be a higher nose grade ever than Tyler Atkinson. His ability to move first and get to the ball, insane. He's an insane football player. Also, this about him. I've always talked about defensive players having a level of aggression that is required. Right, and defensive linemen certainly have to have that. They have to have blinding aggression. Like they see red constantly because their sport and their job is violence at an all-time high all the time. But as a linebacker, we've got to be like a real savant. Like we got to be real smart, and we got to have like almost like controlled aggression, pinpointed aggression. His ability to be one of the most violent human beings when needed, right, at strike point, at the ball, when we meet blockers, right, those sudden points of violence, while also being like just a tremendous human being, is crazy. It's Nakobe Dean-esque. If you meet Nakobe Dean, you'll see this about him. You'll watch him in between snaps. You're like, my God, wow, dark alley team, and then you meet him in person, and you're like, wow, what salt to the earth that human being is. That's the way I feel about Tyler Atkinson. And he runs 4.51 at 6'1.5", 6'2", 200. He's like 218.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only thing about him. He's not like huge. Okay, and here's the deal. I'm about to cook somebody. You ready? There is a recruiting service, or at least was, maybe multiple. And here's how you know. Okay, if you can Google Tyler Atkinson right now and find a recruiting service that is ranking him as an edge defender, never read anything from them ever again. This kid's never played edge in high school. He's been an inside linebacker. Now, what will mess you up is you go watch his highlight tape and he's walked down on the line of scrimmage on obvious passing downs and he's beating the shit out of a high school tackle, okay? Because he's great. He's great. He's a really good pass rusher and a really good blitzer when asked to do so. However, he's a Mike linebacker. He is going to call every play of your defense from the moment he gets there, the moment he gets to college. Did you find one? Don't tell me you found multiple.
Would outside linebacker count
yes,
as edge?
100%.
You could probably guess which one it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah. It's them.
Oh,
remove
no,
them.
You were right on the first time, too.
Yeah, them
multiple
too.
of them. Multiple of
so
them.
2 of the 4.
Yeah.
Fire them. Fire everybody. You know why? Because they clearly don't have anybody in this state for the last 3 years, going on 4. This kid's had 100. He had 100 tackles his freshman year as a linebacker. His freshman year in 7A football had 100 tackles. He had 170 last year, some crazy shit like that.
170?
Dude, I swear, look it up. It was like 150 plus. I think he had 150 plus again this year. You know who doesn't have 150 plus tackles? Raise your hand, class. Outside linebackers. They don't. Because we can run away from them. We can't run away from guys who are in the middle of the field and run 4-5-1.
He had 197 tackles last year. He had 100. Bro. He had 153 this year.
197 tackles. Must have been rushing the passer, right?
I mean, my gosh, he had 25 tackles for loss last year, 29 tackles for loss this year.
Greatest inside linebacker prospect I've evaluated in this state since doing this. Now, I wasn't doing this when, Roquan stayed at Georgia. I wasn't here. No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
I wasn't here when Quay Walker was a prospect at Crisp County. All right, so I wasn't here. So that is the best I've seen. All right, and works extremely hard. So hard. It's a must-have, in my opinion, for the University of Georgia in this state. Now, do you remember me talking about Nick Brooks during National Signing Day?
Yes.
Remember me talking about him being a little bit overweight and being a little bit big and talking about how this is a wide zone scheme at Texas. This doesn't really fit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who I question the foot speed. He's like 390 pounds. Remember me doing all this? Okay, well, he got to Grayson this year, and they must have been just running the piss up out of him. Because Roquan was from Georgia, by the way. They must have ran the piss up out of him. I think the UCLA commitment confused us there.
Mm-hmm.
They must have ran him to death because he's like 350 now. Jonathan, I think Grayson got him to lose like 45 pounds over the last 6 months.
Wow.
He looks great. Now, he kicked a kid last night and got kicked out of the football game. That was unfortunate.
Ooh.
But can we spin this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's spin this. Aggression?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. Let's tame it.
Hey, controlled aggression is a great thing to have on the football field.
Controlled aggression, great thing to have on the football field. Travis Burgess, the quarterback from Grayson, I missed on this young man, and I always admit when I miss. He's still got a year left, so it's we got time to get it right. But last year he started as a true sophomore, and I was like, very, very up and down. And the only way to go from very up and down with all the traits in the world to very consistently good is through work ethic, right? Through grinding, through being a guy who shows up every day to work on our craft to be consistently good. When we're every once in a while great to being consistently really good, we have to work to earn that. He's obviously worked to earn that, and he's going to be rewarded with it. I would imagine he gets offers this week, having watched that performance yesterday. So big, so fast, so able to make all of the throws. That guy's going to play. You know what he look like? It's going to sound crazy. Look like Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, I could see it.
Very big, long, lanky. Best when I'm not going to ask that kid to layer footballs. I'm going to ask that kid to rip them. At 6'6", put him in the pistol, let him run the ball, let him create with his legs. I like it. Peyton Zachary made a lot of plays. I'm the slot receiver for Carrollton. I'm interested to see where he ends up. Peyton Zachary as a true freshman, people in the Georgia space might know him because he got a Georgia offer as a true freshman at like 5'7", 165 pounds. He's like 5'8", 170 pounds now. But good luck covering him and good luck tackling him. And that's the way he is. Now, he's got SEC O's. If you look him up right now, he's got loads of offers. I don't know if they're going to end up in the SEC. I think this kid might end up at a mid-major or whether or not those good things get offered, but he's going to just absolutely spray the game logs and the stat sheets because he's going to be always open. He's always going to catch the ball, and he's going to be hard to tackle. I said this to a mid-major coach yesterday. He's like a mid-major Zachariah Branch. That's the way he feels to me. What do you got on me?
Looks like Tennessee and Georgia have both offered.
Right, and he's probably a 3-star.
Yeah, let me go back to his homepage. Shoot.
Tennessee and Georgia's offered, he's a 3-star. That doesn't correlate. Normally, if Tennessee and Georgia's offered, you're a 4-star.
Yeah, he's a 3-star.
That's right. So he's kind of fallen down after a freshman year, and the player hasn't changed. The projection on the player has, right? All these SEC teams saw this as a freshman and was like, whoa, holy crap, look at this guy. Maybe he'll grow. Let's get in on this early. I'm curious if if I were who's an offense in the SEC that runs let's get open now. If I were Mississippi State, I'd be in on this. If I were a West Georgia that runs this, I'd be looking into this because I think we might end up having a chance at this towards the end. And again, nothing on Peyton has changed. The projection on him has, and I think that's kind of a miss on those schools early, not a miss on Peyton. Peyton's done nothing to change any of this. Trace Hawkins is a name you need to know, Jonathan. Trace Hawkins, freshman quarterback, Calhoun High School, dude. I knew Trace Hawkins from Born to Compete. Okay. You know, this suit I wore, I bought this suit to wear on Born to Compete stage last year when I did my awards gala. He was the middle school quarterback of the year last year at Calhoun. Didn't start the first 3 games this year. They lost all 3. He went 12-0. 12-0 as a starter, as a freshman.
Made it to a state title game.
I'm pretty sure he's going to get a big-time offer pretty soon. Like a big one. Like one, maybe a school we cover.
Oh.
Yeah, like one of them. I'd go ahead and give it to it. I'd just go ahead. Freshman, you spin it like this, and this ain't like oh man, look how big and physical this freshman is. No, this is like a 5'11", 185-pound. Obviously, he's still very young. Look how well this kid plays the position. Look how accurate this kid is. Look how well the ball comes out of his hand. Look how fluid the motion is. Look how clean the mechanics are. Look how well versed this kid is at playing the position already as a true freshman. That's stuff I like to see. So yeah, I'm buying Emory Winston stock too for the first time. That's another one. I was like, what does Texas see in this 6'2.5", 230-pound tight end out of Calhoun that I should know about? I hadn't seen him in person. You know what this is? This is Texas's version of Ethan Barbour. That's what this is. This is a very twitchy, athletic H-back tight end that can make things happen after the catch. So I'm buying some stock there. Now, the 2 questions you were told to remind me about. Go ahead.
The first one was, I believe you texted me the signals thing.
Yep. Standing by a football coach, very smart football coach. Now, they're not all really smart, Jonathan. A lot of them are just really good recruiters. A lot of them are really good relationships people. A lot of them are really good friends with the head coach that hired them. Some of them are fucking football savants. I was standing next to one yesterday, and he's truck sweep. Oh, mesh. He's like calling every play out. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Because I can read formations. I can see tendencies. I'm not picking up on any of these things. He's got them all. He's calling them all play by play. Throwing a fade. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you seeing? He's like, I'm looking at the signals. I'm like, okay. So you're picking up signals. What signaler are you looking at? I'm looking at first signaler. Why are you looking at first signaler? What are you doing? So he's walking me through his process. I got put on game. Now, any coach that's been on a big-time sideline is going to look at me and go like, haha, look at the dipshit learning how to read for the first time. So, yeah, if you know this, humor me a bit. Most people listen to this don't. Jonathan, if you look on a sideline nowadays, you see like 3 or 4 guys signaling, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how would you go about figuring out which one of those signalers is what we would call hot? Which one of those guys is live?
Try and find the one the quarterback's looking at.
Right? So now we're trying to look at eyesight or like everybody on the sideline. But, Jonathan, some of these teams got a signal for the quarterback. They got a signal for the wide receiver. They got a signal for the offensive line. They got a signal for the different positions. So you would get fooled pretty quickly on that one. So what would your next strategy be?
I have no idea.
I wouldn't either, right? So here's what they actually do. They look for the signaler that calls first and ends first, because that's the guy who's getting the actual play first and going into his action, while the dummy play caller is sitting there having to think, okay, listening to the play call, I'm going to make up a dummy call. All right, so that's what they do first. They look for the guy who's calling the plays first and ends first.
Okay.
Never would have thought of that.
No, me either.
And you know who you said is the best at it?
Who?
who's the best at making sure their callers are coached up to call at the same exact time and have the same exact play call every single time? Do you know who's the best at it?
Kirby Smart?
Kirby Smart, the University of Georgia. He said you can't never pick them. Can't never pick Georgia Science because A, they got the net, they got the guy standing behind them, but B, you bet it, they are obsessed about coaching those callers to just, okay, here comes the play call, boom, right up at the same time. They're calling the same things over and over again. I never thought about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love
So,
that.
yeah, first. And then what was the other one?
Jacoby and Jabari.
All right, Jacoby and Jabari get a very unique shout-out because they said they watch every single day. So I wanted to give Jacoby and Jabari a shout-out. A lot of people tell me, not a lot, but people when we go out nowadays, they hey, we love the show, love the show, love the show. The young man told me I inspire him and find bigger role models, to be honest. find bigger and more important role models, but to be an inspiration, that was awesome. So, yeah, that felt dope.
Awesome.
I had a text message I was supposed to read.
Yes.
So I was digging for Dane Key information before the show. That's what I was digging for, and everybody else digging for too. Visit went really, really well, okay? But here's the thing. Most of these transfer portals, guys, from my history, when they get them on visit, they kind of know if the guy's going to end up there as they leave. They feel really, really good about this and will know within the next couple of days. What that tells me, wherever he's at right now is your biggest competition. Wherever he's going after his visit with you guys, those are the ones you're worried about, but you feel really, really, really good about that right there. So there you go. There's your Dane Key intel.
Yeah, I think that obviously the buzz really started to pick up because I think it was this morning that the predictions started coming in of Dane Key going to Georgia. And that, I don't know when his visit to Georgia was. Wasn't it earlier in the week?
Yeah, it was 2 days ago, I thought.
Yeah, so that would make sense. I'm trying to figure out where he is right now at this moment.
Chat saying Nebraska.
Okay. Well.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's not one you really want to be competing with.
Yeah. If it comes down to money, that's not one I want to be fighting with.
Speaking of Kentucky, though, we didn't get to mention this in the NBR hour, but we have a return of an SEC legend back to the SEC at the quarterback position. And this is great news for me. This makes me feel a whole lot better. Not for this player, but Zach Calzada will be the quarterback at Kentucky next year, or at least is back on their roster next year. But that also means Malik Murphy is not going to Kentucky.
Dude, I couldn't tell you a single play of Zach Calzada's SEC career.
Yes, you can.
Really?
Yes, you can.
Why?
He beat Alabama.
Is it he was the Texas A&M quarterback that
Yes.
beat Alabama? Oh, man. He's gotten a couple jobs off of that.
Probably.
Might get some Texas A&M radio jobs.
I believe
after
his latest stop was Incarnate Word.
that. Yeah. After flaming out somewhere else, right?
Well, he's at
Auburn.
Auburn, and then they may have went somewhere else after that. I don't know.
Man. Oh, speaking of Auburn, I got some intel yesterday on their quarterback situation. You know how we were confused about taking 2 transfer portal guys with limited eligibility?
Yeah.
One of those guys knows he's going to be the backup and is okay with it. Do you know who it is?
I would imagine it's Ashton.
Yeah, it's definitely A. Jackson Arnold. Yeah. So Ashton Daniels is coming to Auburn to sit.
But we figured out, too, he has one more year, right?
I guess.
I hope.
But he's coming to Auburn to sit.
Hey, if you're good with it, good on you.
I guess. I guess I'm wrong on Ashton Daniels. I guess I think Ashton Daniels is better than I guess Ashton Daniels thinks Ashton Daniels is. Also, don't be surprised if he beats Jackson Arnold out anyways. You know. Yeah, coach, I'm good with sitting. I'm good with sitting, especially if that's the guy in front of me. I'm freaking fine with sitting. Where do you want to go next, Jonathan? Georgia not participating in the Netflix documentary is like, oh, the sky's blue?
Yeah.
Kirby told you no to extra access? The sky is blue?
Yeah, that was my exact reaction to this. It is, especially when it came out and it said 10 of 16 teams participated. I was like, Georgia's definitely one of the teams that did not participate. Because I was like, you mean to tell me that Kirby Smart let a camera crew follow around his football team, got behind-the-scenes access to his football program for an entire season for a documentary, Yeah, I'm sure that Kirby Smart wants to throw up and kick everybody out of the building when SEC Inside comes in, but that's just obligated to do that.
Bro, you remember that time destroying the YouTube content creator got to walk around the building? Mm-hmm. The player that let him in the building may or may not already be in the transfer portal. It's a joke, but it's not. Okay, like this dude, no. I had a coach yesterday who was like, do they let you in at practice up there at Georgia? And I about spit my dip out. I'm like, what? No, not since August, my guy. They will force feed him, or they will force him to allow us to at practice this week when we go out, or next week when we go out to the Sugar Bowl, because that's mandatory, because the Sugar Bowl requires that. But other than that, no, you ain't getting in nowhere near that place.
And when you get that, it's bring out the yoga mats. Let's do some stretching. Let's do like you ain't even getting practice.
You're talking about a way to piss off the media, not name Brooks Austin real quick. That's the way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And I always, my stance on this. I joke about it, I laugh about it, and then at the end of it, I tell you, I do the same exact thing. I do the same exact thing. You ain't getting no so-and-so's in a boot, such and such in and such. They're doing such and such run scheme. Get out the hell up out of here. Now, there is one SEC program that's media relations department needs to start getting prepared for this treatment to start happening to them, and it's Tennessee. Tennessee's starting, and Josh Heupel's starting to get into that territory where he's got some sway and he's got some weight and he's constantly winning and he doesn't need the media. Okay, so he might start, we've got recruits in the building today. No, SEC or Tennessee beat reporters, you can't stand inside the indoor facility and interview these guys as they leave. Just, that was one of those big name brands that opted into this Netflix documentary. It's one of the only ones in this conference that was like, yeah, you can come through. We don't care. And maybe that's the way Heupel is. Maybe he'll stay that way forever. And for that case, and for that matter, awesome. Like Lane Kiffin said no.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin. He'll say yes to outfit of the day on TikTok with his daughter, but no to the SEC documentary.
Yep.
Apparently there's an echo. Don't know why there would be an echo. OBS struggling today, Jonathan.
Apparently.
They don't want to see us win. They don't want to see us succeed.
We hit 40K, and all of a sudden, red flags got to start
40K, ops is opping.
Not like a coinkydink.
No coinkydinks out here. Apparently, Malik Murphy to Oregon State. Boy, he buns. Boy's so hurt right now. Can we find out if that's legit?
Please no. Or Oregon State. We were at Duke. We're going to go to Oregon State, a team that's not even in a conference right now.
Texas to Duke to Oregon State. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have hit the portal there, my guy. You so hurt right now.
I hate that. That. I'm not a fan of that.
Too.
Not a fan of that.
What are they going to do in the Pac-12? Get Norfolk State up in there?
Sacramento State going to come up in there and take care of business. That's what's going to happen. Them and their $50 million.
Mike Vick, Norfolk State. Shout out. Yeah, big time. That'll be cool. I think he'll get players. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, if you are a Norfolk State, why would you not take Mike Vick? Like, why would you as a school like that not take Mike Vick? And why are other schools like that not doing the same thing? Like, if you can get a former NFL quarterback, a name like Mike Vick, to interview for your head coaching job, give him the job. Just go ahead and do it.
Peter. That'd be the only reason why not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reasonable reason, by the way. Like, they're going to get some backlash on this. As did we. I mean, we did. We rolled Michael Vick commercials, and some people in the mentions are like, what the hell is this? Get this off.
Yeah.
How about them dogs? I had to. I'm sorry. Jonathan, I want to play a game on this draft stock game. I want to do this. I think this is going to be fun. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Jonathan is going to throw a Georgia player who is draft eligible. This is not us telling you we think this player is already declared.
Yeah.
Because there's an opportunity that some of these guys might come back, which is going to be part of this discussion, okay? So what we're going to do is he's going to present me a name. I'm going to tell you where I think the NFL is likely to draft him, and we're going to compare my guesses with the NFL mock draft database. So this is how all of the NFL beat writers are projecting these football players to be drafted as. Okay, so who do we want to start with first?
The first name I have on the list is Michael Williams.
Okay. I think Michael Williams going into the season was probably looking at an overall draft projection of inside the top 10, like a 7 overall. I think he's going to be projected to be drafted inside the top 15 right now. Give me the 13th overall selection.
Michael Williams is ranked the 11th best player right now.
Not bad.
So right on the cusp of top 10.
The first rounders aren't hard.
No.
What's going to be hard is judging the value of like a Trevor Etienne. All right, let's go on to the next one. Who's next?
All right, I'll give you another one. Jalen Walker.
All right, Jalen Walker going into the season was like a 3rd-round draft selection and projection based off what he had already put on tape. That's completely blown out of the water right now. Give me Jalen Walker as the average 26th overall drafted player.
15th.
That's a little high for my blood. And here's why. Jalen's going to get some height, weight, speed concerns. No different than Nolan did, right? Nolan's burning fast, but Nolan's 6'2", 240.
Yeah.
Okay, Jalen's going to go to the combine, and he's going to be 6'2" and a quarter. He's going to be 248 pounds, and he's maybe heavier. He might be 250. Might be 250, and is going to run somewhere in the 4.7 range, I think. But I always project these 40s way off nowadays. They're way faster and they train way harder than what they actually run. So maybe if he runs in the 4.58 range, he's a top 15 pick.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And
if he's in the 4.65 range, I think he's still a first rounder, but it's the back end. We start worrying about, hey, is this guy going to get measured out?
I think the thing with Jalen too is it's not, for me, it's not about what slot Jalen is going to go at, because I had a buddy text me the other day saying that the Falcons need to draft Jalen Walker. I said, no, the Falcons do not need to draft Jalen Walker because the Falcons are not going to know how to use Jalen Walker.
He needs a 3-4 scheme.
Yeah, and he needs to go somewhere where a team can figure out how to use him. Like, the Falcons need to draft just your traditional edge player, get after the quarterback. Jalen Walker needs to go somewhere that knows and understands how he. I mean, he made Georgia's staff uncomfortable on having to find ways to use him. He needs to go somewhere that knows how to use him,
like a Pittsburgh.
Yeah, something like that.
He could be a hybrid version of James Harrison. Ooh.
I like it.
You know who his comp is? His comp's Dwight Freeney. That's what.
Oh yeah, we talked
Georgia
about this.
says. When I ask, because I can't place him. In the NFL, I can't figure out what he's going to be. Is he going to be an inside linebacker? Is he going to be an edge rusher? Is he going to be both? There's not a lot of both. Like, people think Micah Parsons is both. Y'all aren't watching Micah Parsons anymore. Micah Parsons is a stand-up edge rusher. He plays there every down. He's not playing off-ball linebacker. So there are no these that we play both in pro ball. So Georgia thinks, and Georgia, when they talk to the league, they think he's like, hey, this is a 6'2", 250-pounder that can also run through tackles because he's so goddamn cockstrong. Like, this might be one of those guys that can do that. They think they're selling him as a potential Dwight Freeney. And when you look at it from a height, weight, speed comp, they're identical. They're identical to one another. Who's next?
Malachi Starks.
Preseason top 12. And you can see that on that data chart, right? You can see how it's kind of...
Yeah.
And has it gone downhill?
I don't know. Has it?
Damn. I'm assuming we're going in sequential order right here. So if we had 11, 15, give me 18th overall draft selection.
He is 12th.
That's high. But who's in the safety market right now?
And that's what I was about to get at is I don't think that there's really any other safeties in this class that are of Malachi's caliber. And it shows up, too, on his mock draft database of this entire year, it's just been a plateau. Like, he's just stayed at the same spot. He stayed at 12. Looks like at the beginning of the season, he was right at 15. So he's actually kind of lowered his he's gone down. Risen, I should say, not down. So he's kind of just stayed at the same spot all year.
Maybe I need to be watching more college football or paying attention to more draft stuff. It's definitely not watching more college football.
Is Makuba draft eligible?
Yeah, but I would worry about size concerns with Makuba.
Yeah.
Makuba's a very small individual, but he plays thick. I mean, he plays big, but like Caleb Downs still has to go to another year of college football. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who would be maybe he's drafted in the first round and the first safety off the board anyways, because there's no – look it up for me. See what we got in terms of guys that people think are going to get drafted ahead of or around him at the safety position in college football.
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to find a way to find a position.
Like, it's not going to be Malachi Moore. It's not going to be – I don't know.
Let's see.
What are the
Here's
draft
Malachi.
statuses
He's the first safety. The next safety isn't until I'm scrolling. The next safety is Nick Imamwari from South Carolina.
Who, by the way, is a freak.
I love him.
You want to go find out an NFL Combine story? Wait till you see what Nick Imamwari is going to do at the Combine. He's going to measure in north of 6'3". He's going to measure in north of 210 pounds, and he's going to run sub 4.4.
Yeah, and he's at 51st.
Yeah, and he'll go through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
At the Combine.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got ball production. That guy's made plays in college.
All right, the next one. Let's go Tate Ratledge.
Okay. All right. I can't believe this, but the NFL draft world, the NFL mock draft world is going to think that he is better than Dylan Fairchild. And he's played better than Dylan Fairchild at points this season. And he started longer than Dylan Fairchild. And he's bigger than Dylan Fairchild. But I would draft Dylan ahead of Tate. And I think the NFL is going to draft Dylan ahead of Tate. But the NFL mock draft world will not. 78th overall.
You're close. He's 84th.
Okay. That's top of the fourth, back into the third.
I think back into the third.
Back into the third
Back
with
into the third.
compensation picks. So there's a pretty big drop-off here of Georgia players. Because you are going in sequential order?
Well, I was just trying to think of, like, names that I think are going to go first round, and then, like, what's the next caliber? Tate Ratledge was the next round for me. So that's kind of where my mindset went. So, yeah, kind of going in that range.
And I know he was hurt this year, but his healthy tape this year is some of the best tape he put on in the 3 years starting. Right? He started full 3 years because he got hurt his first year against Clemson and started the last three. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a good, long-serving pro as well. And the difference between, like, him and I don't want to do this to Ben, but I don't think Ben Cleveland loves football. I think Ben Cleveland loves the idea that he's great at football and that the Lord put him on this planet at that size to make a living playing football. But if Ben Cleveland could make a living hunting deer, he'd do that.
Oh, yeah.
He would do that. If he could make a living, skinning squirrels, he'd do that. I don't think he loves football. I think Tate Ratledge, I know Tate Ratledge loves football. Or at least he loved playing football for the University of Georgia. That guy played through so much shit this year. Played through injury, played through sickness, played through pain, played through all of it. And he loves ball. So he going to play football as long as he wants to play football and as long as football wants him. Who's next?
Next up on the list, we have Smile Munden.
I feel like I like Smile Mondon far more than the NFL even does.
I think the NFL is going to fall more in love with Smile after.
I mean, here's what we got, right? We got a 6'2", 230-pounder who is a high school state champion in the high hurdles that's going to probably run somewhere in the 4.5 range at the NFL Combine, who started for one of the nation's best defenses for every moment that he was healthy after his freshman year.
Yep.
And was arguably their most versatile linebacker the entire time.
Yep.
He can play in the box on early downs. He can run and cover.
Yep.
Should be a third-round pick.
He's 134th.
So that's a fifth-rounder.
Yeah, it's like fourth, fifth round.
That's way low. Now, injury concerns, or at least a history of injury concerns, but they're all soft tissue, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
They're all luck happenstance. None of this is, and by the way, played through them all. Played through them all. If playing through injury, like Nick Saban tells us matters, like Kirby Smart tells us increases your draft stock, if it doesn't increase this draft stock, that's all fugazi. The NFL's lying to these football coaches, and these football coaches are then therefore lying to their football players. If Smile Mondon's draft status isn't increased this year, then it doesn't happen. That playing through injury doesn't increase your stock. It's not fair. You shouldn't risk further injury by doing this. You don't get the benefit of the doubt. You don't get an increase in draft status because this guy's got nothing going against his record.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree with that. All right, let's go to Nazir Stackhouse.
I feel like he was a 4th rounder last year. I feel like he's going to be a 5th or 6th rounder this year.
Yeah, I feel like he probably hasn't.
120?
152.
Yeah. I feel like the emergence of Kristen Miller hurt him.
Yeah, kind of got overshadowed a little bit.
Like we at least have the flash play of the interception last year from Nas. Where's the pop from Nas Stackhouse? You're going to have to go grind tape from Nas to find out he's a serviceable Sunday guy.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like Nas is the perfect reserve defensive tackle and the nose tackle in the NFL of if you put him in, he's not necessarily going to be making plays here, but he's going to hold his ground. He's going to be great in run defense. He's going to plug gaps, and there's value in having that in the NFL. So that's probably a good placement for him. He's still a really good football player. You start multiple years at Georgia.
I mean, if Zion Logue's going to consistently be on rosters, Nazir Stackhouse better be on them.
He better.
All right, who's next?
Dalen Everett. I'll tell you this. From the start of the season to now, his draft stock has not changed that much.
Yeah, then they ain't updating it. They ain't watching. All right. You know what's going to increase his draft stock the most?
What's that?
The combine. I think this kid's going to test out of the world, Jonathan. It's a former IMG guy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a former IMG guy that was a borderline 5-star. And here's what I got. Because, I don't like to text sources about my 40s because I like to do that, just off tape. Like, this guy's this fast based off tape. And last year, I think I projected Tyke Smith to run like 4.58, and he went up there, he ran, 4.41?
Yeah,
4.42? Something goofy. And I was texting a lot of the burning, in off-season in-house pro combine testing that they do. They hand time these guys. They'll never really give it to me. But one of the conversations that leading up to the combine was Tyke Smith. Anybody that ever tried to get Georgia vertically when Tyke Smith was there, they tried to get it on Tyke, which tells me that OCs were thinking the same thing that I do. The top end speed on this guy might be a little bit questionable, right? He might be a 4.58 guy. He might not be a 4.41 guy like everybody else on the roster or in the DB room. And the quote I got back after Tyke Smith runs 4.41 was, if Tyke Smith runs 4.41, Dalen Everett's going to run 4.18. This guy burns, apparently. So he's going to go to the combine. He's going to run really, really fast.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I can't ever think of a time, as much crap as people have wanted to give Dalen over his Georgia career, there's never been a moment where it's, well, that receiver's 10 yards past Dalen, or Dalen just got left in the dust right there. I mean, it feels like he's always in phase or somewhere near the ball. It's where he could potentially make a play. So, but he is ranked at 96th.
3rd round eval.
Yeah.
That's right. I think he'll go higher. I think he'll be a late 2nd round pick.
I can see it.
A serviceable multiple year starter in the SEC that runs and tests well and is big and long. I mean, dude, have you've seen him in person? He's much bigger than he looks on television.
100%.
He's so big. Would you put him at 6'2"?
Yeah.
I'd put him at a full 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
I put him at 6'2", like 200 pounds. And like I said, I think he's going to run somewhere in the 4.4s.
I think it's funny that I think this kind of speaks to how big he is Georgia was posting pictures yesterday on their social media account of players at practice.
Yeah.
And one of the pictures was a side shot of Dalen Everett. People thought it was Colby Young.
Yeah, Colby Young, 6'4", 210.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big man. All right, and I think it's his drip. I think it's his way his pads are real small.
Yeah.
He wears these arm sleeves. You don't really realize how long his arms are. You walk up on that dude, and you're like, oh, my Lord. Hey, yo. Who else?
We got 2 more. Trevor Etienne.
Weird, because I'd draft that sucker day 2, and I'd put him on my NFL roster, and he'd be a serviceable starter for me for 7 years. That's what I think of Trevor Etienne. But the NFL doesn't. What's going on?
202nd.
Yeah, that's goofy. This guy's a 3rd round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Third-round draft pick. Give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's quintessential, like, especially with how the NFL drafts running backs now. Like, very rarely are you going to find the first-round running back pick. Like, there's one this year, and it is going to be Ashton Genty. That's going to be the first-round draft pick. Bijan Robinson was just like, you maybe get one per class. But the way the NFL drafts running backs now, we're looking for a guy in the third or fourth round that can play for us for the next 5 years on a rookie contract and be really good, and he's going to be consistent. Like, that is Trevor Etienne to a T. That is what you're looking for.
And it's also a position that is never, at least in my mind, historically is not drafted off of production. Like, if you look at the way guys are slotted, it's off of tape and explosivity and whether or not they're going to transition to the next level. And Trevor Etienne does all of those things. If you watch Trevor Etienne tape and then you look at the game logs, you'll leave with two totally different impressions of that football player.
Yep.
Like, is he the hardest guy to tackle right now on Georgia's roster?
Yes.
Is he a top 5 guy in this conference to tackle?
Yes.
At the running back position, he's top 3.
Yeah.
Draft him. Like, it'll go Genty, Sampson, a break, whoever's next. He's the top of that whoever's next, in my opinion. Like, and this is going to sound crazy. Ollie Gordon, Trevor Etienne, who are you taking tomorrow on a Sunday league?
Etienne.
I think so too. Just feels weird to say that, though.
Yeah, I mean, the modern day running back in the NFL, this is the guy that you would want. This is the makes defenders miss. Like, I don't know. I won't understand if this is actually how it plays out for him. If he ends up being a day 3 pick, I won't understand it, but whatever. Final one, TID.
Ooh, walked on senior day, right? Joseph Jonah-Onyeonye, promising young player.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Gibson might grow into a defensive end. Gabe Harris, really talented, but damn if TID didn't have a season this year that makes you want another one, right?
Yeah.
He's a 5th-round draft pick right now.
He's undrafted right now. He is ranked 654th.
Bullshit.
Let's add another one into the mix. Warren Brinson.
6th-rounder.
Undrafted.
Yeah, wrong.
336th.
Wrong.
Coming into the season, he was ranked 203rd, and now he's plummeted to 336.
Chat, let me get a thumbs down for the NFL mock draft community. Let me get a thumbs down and a thumbs up on the video.
Yeah, I wanted to see what that one was at.
If you're wondering why your boy's looking like a square today, rocking a suit and some J's had to. Oh, and the black socks. That's crazy work. Exposed myself. Your boy's going to be on Fine Bomb today, 5:30. Make sure you're there.
Love that.
Virtual, Jonathan.
Oh.
Yeah, Mom's Basement getting a little suit action today.
Fine Bob just got to find a way to make sure that they get you on there. No matter if it's virtual, in person, whatever. They're finding their ways to make sure it happens.
Jonathan, today I was finally told what we might be talking about.
Oh, got some prep.
Yeah, and most of it's not even Georgia stuff. Coming up, used to. Oh, we got Brooks Austin. He's a Georgia beat reporter, which I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
I will always be. I will strive to always be covering these here dogs. But nowadays, this is Brooks Austin, the film guy. He does great work covering college football.
Love that.
That's a come up right there. That's a come up.
Stepping out of space.
Georgia will always have me. Okay, they'll always get my work. But I don't think they are the only ones that need it, Jonathan. I think the world needs certified ball knowledge, and Georgia will always have it.
Yep.
But we ought to give it to some of these other folks. They need it too.
Just trying to bless the world.
Yeah. I mean, you think it would behoove you as a Georgia fan that's been here from day one. Because now, if this goes worldwide, if certified ball knowledge gets spread across the world of college football, then you will no longer be arguing with ignorant football fans.
Yeah.
Every argument that you have with your hated fan base that on the other side, at least you'll know you'll be arguing against an educated ball knower. Oh, my God, that would be so great.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Next.
Which of these freshmen that are potentially early enrolling, all right, would make an impact on this roster right now today? These are high school seniors that if for some reason they could play in the bowl season, they'd be out here grinding it out, making an impact on this roster, Jonathan.
Mine immediately goes to wide receiver. Like, I don't know which one I would pick, though. Probably Taylor. He seems like the cleanest of them all right now. Of like, if you had to pick one to walk into the building right now, he'd be ready to go on Saturday or ready to go by Sugar Bowl. Taylor is probably that one, but it's also enticing to think about a guy like JWill or a guy like Landon Rolden, one of those two also coming in here and making an impact. So that's where my mind immediately went.
I think they would immediately get burned. They would get an opportunity to see if you can make plays on this level right now. They'd have to do so in practice first. I think a guy like JWill and Taylor will be able to route up immediately when he gets here, and he's got physical capabilities to separate late. CJ, I mean, he could mess around and win balls in one-on-ones on an NFL rate right now.
He's like, from a physical standpoint, he's the most SEC ready. Of like, walk in today, you look like an SEC football player.
Right, and those are the two requirements. Three. Are you physically prepared? Are you mentally prepared? Is there an opportunity for you to play? He's physically prepared. You would imagine coming from Milton and being an NFL pedigree and being a grinder, he'd get mentally prepared pretty quickly. He certainly has an opportunity to play. He would be a guy at the X position that you'd look at. I'd look at a guy like Elias Williams in red zone targets. If we got a 6'7" guy, 6'8" guy standing on the sideline that can high point, we're going to get him in on red zone anyways, just to make everyone go, hey, watch the fade. Hey, watch the fade. He might draw some attention.
Plus, I'm just thinking about Elias Williams being in with a Gunnar Stockton and a running back, a very diverse run game. I think you could do some fun stuff with him there too.
I took a look at a guy like Elijah Griffin and a guy like Isaiah Gibson. I know it's a really deep room, but if you're a winnable body, they play him. They just do. That's what they do. They rotate a bunch.
What about a guy like Todd Robinson?
He's got a transition to safety that's going to make it a problem. I know there's an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm surprised they haven't, and maybe it's because there's not any good ones out there. I'm surprised they haven't already taken a safety in the portal. Like, where's the action there? Well,
I know the Purdue kid ended up committing somewhere.
Where?
I can't remember. I can go find that out right now.
Probably Wisconsin. Cheesehead. Be a Badger.
Dylan Theinman, that was his name.
Dylan Theinman, the great white hope at the safety position.
Oregon.
Boy, he gonna play some ball out there this year, ain't he? Wow.
No coincidence that Dan Lanning, friend of the show, heard us talk about some Dan Jackson. He's like, I can have my own Dan Jackson?
I can have my own Dan Jackson?
Let me go get that kid.
I'm going to go get me a Dan Jackson. I'm going to go get me a nice, healthy lunch and take a breath before I'm on Feinbaum at 5:30.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys being here. I love you. What a great week of content here on the network. Crossed over 40,000 subscribers, on to 50, and then on to the moon. I love you. Bye. See you later.